Welcome to Tarvin Tutorials. Let's talk about imports, what they are, and how to use them. So an import is just the data or your contact data that you're importing into our system instead of manual adding one contact at a time. So you'll create a data file. That data file is usually what we call a delimited file. So that delimited file will have typically a header row that has names of each column. So like first name, last name, email address, and then you'll have all your data underneath it. And each of those columns can be separated by a delimiter. That delimiter could be a comma, a tab, a semicolon, or it can be an Excel document. So we always suggest use a tab delimited file, which in Excel you can save to a tab delimited file. It just has a TXT extension to it, like a text file. Or you can go to a comma separated file, which is a CSV extension, or Excel, which obviously will have a different extension, XLS or XLSX. So depending on what version of Excel you're using. So anyway, you have a data file that has all of your contact information in it. And one of the things with Tarvin is that you can have various information about a contact stored in different files. So maybe you have one system that has fields 1 through 6 in it. And then you have another file or another system that has the same email address, but then it has, fields 9 through 10. I'm just naming 9 through 10, but whatever fields that you have. So within Tarvin, you could do several imports to add and update a contact with data from multiple data sources and have all that go in, and Tarvin figures everything out for you. So you don't have duplicate email addresses or duplicate unique contact identifiers. So the unique contact identifier in most cases will be the email address. So now when you do an import, I've got an import up here that we've already done. So on the import screen, you can add your import. And then you go through the steps of adding an import. So the main things when adding an import, you're just dragging a file in, or you can copy and paste. So if you've got something that gave you some data, you can copy that and paste it into a text box in our system. But then you import the data, you go through the steps of mapping every column to a data field in Tarvin. So every column, like I said, first name, last name, email, you'll map the first name to the first name data field within the audience. And then you'll map last name and email address. You can also skip fields. You can add fields. You can add data fields during the import process, because it's always annoying to do an import and then you realize you missed a data field. So we give you the option to add a data field at the time that you're doing an import. And if you have any questions about data fields and you haven't watched our 101 video on that, just click on data fields and you can watch the video on that one. So when you do an import, we're going to give you some information as far as how many records we found, how many duplicates we found, and then we'll tell you how many we added. If you selected the option to update your contacts, it will do that. And then any bad records that we couldn't understand, then we'll show you how many bad records. And in the notification saying that the import is done, we'll give you a file with those bad records, and so you can fix those and re-import. So we'll tell you column 1 was mapped to first name, column 2 mapped to last name, column 3 is mapped to email. And then there's a bunch of settings that you can set as well. I won't go over all those settings now, but these little triangles that you'll see all throughout our system, you can quickly hover over those and they'll give you information about it. So now once you've done an import, most of the time your imports are going to be the same, in the sense that you're going to have the same structure to your file and you're just using our system to import that. So in the case that your file is always the same format, meaning, first name is first, last name is second, email address is third in the case of this import, then what you could do is, instead of going through the screens to import it manually, you could just email that file to this email address. So if you email it to that email address and just attach the file, you don't have to put anything in the subject line. You don't have to put any content in the body. Just email the file to this address and our system will automatically pick it up, do the import, and then send you an email. So it's that simple. If you have a large file, I would suggest zipping the file, compressing the file, and sending it to us that way. Whether you're doing it through import or through email, definitely suggest doing that. And then the file will be imported, and like I said, it'll send you a notification with all that information. It's very simple. If you do import an Excel file, it is only going to look at the first sheet. It doesn't look at all the sheets. It'll just look at the very first one and import from there. And then, like I said, when you're doing the import, tab delimited is the best, just because if you do comma delimited and then one of your values has a comma in it, it may treat it as a separate column depending on how it's formatted. So anyway, and the last thing I'd like to pass on is that if you're doing updates on a large audience, updates always take longer than adds. So just so you're aware, if you do an import and you added a bunch of records, it took 5 minutes to do the import, and then you're going to update all those, it's going to take longer. It may take 10 to 15 minutes to do that same import because updates just take longer. So just so you're aware of that. Otherwise, once you're done, you're going to get a notification via email, and you'll also see a notification up here as well. We call these in-app notifications. So you also get a notification in here to let you know that it's done.